Hello everyone, Mrhappy here, and welcome to Mondays with Mrhappy, aka Mrhappy Mondays, the weekly Q&A show where you ask me questions and I answer them. So generally I always talk about like the green screen eyes here. This shirt is an old shirt that we sold on Twitch. Look at the eyes because they're green. You can see through them. It looks like I'm just wearing shades, thankfully, when you actually look at it in the little corner, but I noticed that right before we started recording, so I wanted to point it out. So I wanted to talk to you guys real quick about the audio issues I had on my channel for a couple of weeks. I got a new microphone and I looked through a bunch of options and it didn't seem like anything was wrong, but it seems that the reason why like you may have been watching videos recently and it sounds like the left-right balance is off is there were about 3 options affecting that on this microphone. It also was giving me random like audio changes. Like it would just change the how loud I was, and so I've adjusted all of those. It's been completely consistent since then, but if you have problems with like left-right balance or anything like that, be sure to put it in the comment section, because that's what led me to eventually find this issue in the middle of last week's State of the Realm. But anyway, just wanted to put that out there since some people didn't know if I was aware of some of the audio issues I was having since getting the new microphone. Other than that, people said they do like the new one's audio quality, so at least I'm happy for that. Before we get started, I do have one other thing I need to do, and that's our Patreon supporters. You guys have been incredibly supportive over on Patreon since the whole YouTube fiasco has started happening. I'm sure you've seen a bunch of other YouTubers starting to talk about it as well. I know my subscription feed on YouTube has started filling with it. My Twitter feed has started filling with it. So, we did have a few more people pledge from last week and officially become sponsors of Mondays with Mrhappy. We had Giraddeswillrule as a standard sponsor. We had Stevie-Rex as a standard sponsor. Jean-Francois P Michaud, whose name I absolutely butchered, as an elite sponsor. We have Themacholuis as an elite sponsor, Fersh of Faerie as an elite sponsor, and TinColossus as an elite sponsor. Of course, we still have last week's sponsors. We have Phoenix Down Free Company, Obi, Serren, Raul Jr. Raul Jr. is a new premium Mondays with Mrhappy sponsor, and then we still have Dark Light, Ramil, and Kiltastic. You guys may remember me talking about that last week. Let me just make sure. I think there is actually one that's somehow missing on that list, and if I'm not mistaken, that person would be Themacholuis, who is also an elite sponsor of Mondays with Mrhappy. So thank you, those of you who have been supporting what's been going on over on YouTube. I'm trying to come up with some new ideas. You saw the comedy video last week with Final Fantasy XI. I want to do some stuff that has more editing involved, because I feel like if I'm going to have a Patreon, I should have videos that absolutely require more effort on my part. So I want to say thank you to those people who have been sponsoring, who are now sponsors of Mondays with Mrhappy. Your names will be listed below for all time, or at least until, unless you cancel the Patreon or something like that. Anyway, on that note though, let's get to the questions for Mondays with Mrhappy this week. We've got a few, and then we've got some from the Twitch chat. Let's go. Alright, the first question looks like a doozy. Hey there, Mrhappy, longtime follower, second time asking a question. So have yourself an extra strong coffee for next weekend's PAX West plus 14-hour dev. I'm gonna need it. It's gonna be bad. And I'm gonna be at a party an hour before that, and I have to leave the party to get the Q&A. And I don't know. It's gonna be interesting. So recently I finally got all crafters to 70. You're able to make decent chunk of gil. After spending like 5 million, I got all 3. Oh, you're talking about desynthesis. After going through a few walkthroughs, the Heavensward endgame Stormblood 255 seems like a major roadblock grind. So there's definitely some things there that are a roadblock and a grind. I'd say that the biggest thing is it's a lot of put money through to get money back. Because a lot of the sort of 155 plus area is dominated by glamour items that you get from places like the Old Aquapolis and Palace of the Dead. Replica Algan gear is really good. I can't even remember the names of all the sets. Expeditioner's gear is good until like, I think I did Expeditioner's gear all the way up to like 240 back before. I'm just trying to think of all those different sets that come out of Palace of the Dead and the Old Aquapolis, but those are really your big ones. Yes, you still have things like red scripts, you have your hunt seals, the PvP tokens, poetics. All of those are good, and you do accrue those at a pretty decent rate in the game nowadays if you're ever doing activities that involve them. But keep those in mind, especially the things I just named. I don't think there's any good vendor items you can get until you're like somewhere close closer to like the low 200s range. The stuff that's sellable in Ishgard, almost like introductory items to Stormblood. Those are good, but I don't remember the exact level you'll need to be to start doing those. So I think they could probably ease it out a little bit, but I think there are plenty of options there. You might have to fail a few times, but if you're willing to grab the items that increase the rate at which you descent, I think those are going to be your best options. All right, number 2, Yo Haps, thanks for the shout out last week. Did I? Are you one of the sponsors? You must be, because I shouted out the sponsors last week. Either way, thank you. Yes, you are. I do see that. Thanks for the shout out last week. So you played Persona 5. I actually just finished playing it right before this recording. That finished. I didn't beat the game, but I'm in the process of finishing it, and it's been great. I have played Persona 3. I've played Persona 4, though not Persona 4 Golden, and now I'm playing Persona 5. Of the 3, I haven't played P4 Golden, just to repeat. I've enjoyed Persona 5 the most. Dungeon design, top quality, the worlds, the different places you can go, the story itself. It's very Persona-esque, it's very familiar, but at the same time it feels much more unique to me than some of the previous Persona games, especially 3. 3 I had issues with, I don't know, something just didn't come together for me with 3 nearly as much as 4 and 5. I also didn't like that in the non-portable version, you couldn't control anyone but the main protagonist, so that kind of eats away at me as well. But anyway, I'm loving Persona 5, and I'm in the middle of Palace number 6 right now on normal. On New Game Plus, I'll probably do a higher difficulty, but I just wanted the story experience of that game because I already spent so much time playing other games, I didn't need to prolong that by putting it on a higher difficulty. Alright, number 3, Ahab, 7 weeks in a row. Do I get my early model Mrhappy? That does sound weird. I'm glad that you understand it. Yeah, sure, you can have it. Do you think we'll see any more vehicle-based combat? Yes, we will. The upcoming PvP mode has mechas, which will play an integral role in whatever the PvP mode actually ends up being. We should find out more about that this week, or at least fingers crossed that we do find out more about it next week. I don't think you'll see it much in dungeons outside. I mean, we had A2 back when 3.0 first came out. I don't know how much we'll see it. You don't want to overuse it, and then it's like just a gimmick that they use too much, and then you don't want to, and then if you underuse it, people ask for more of it. So we'll see how it goes over in the PvP mode, but we should see something along the lines of that. And which skill in 14 do you just simply hate? Wildfire, Tornado Kick, all of Machinists. That's not one skill. I'm not a warrior, so I'm sure if I was, I'd say current Shake It Off. But other than that, I don't really think so. I'll say that fundamentally, Earth Tackle for monks is kind of one of the dumbest things I've ever seen. First of all, the knockback doesn't work on 90% of the enemies, but the enemies it does work on, I just think of how much I used to hate Machinists using Blank in dungeons, or White Mages using what's it called? Fluid Aura just for DPS increases when it would do the knockback. Now, it's not... In the lower levels, you probably just turn on Fist of Earth because you can, because you don't have Fist of Fire yet. Do you have Fist? I'm forgetting the levels you actually learn all the Fists, so ignore me. But I just imagine the same scenario. Like, why would I ever want to shoulder tackle with this on just to knock the enemy away from me? Unless I was maybe interrupting a spell. I don't know. In that case, I'd rather just have the regular shoulder tackle and a stun, because now stuns don't overlap as much because not as many people have them. So, I don't know. That, Earth Tackle. All right, number 4. Hey Haps, how you doing this week? I'm doing all right. It's been an interesting week. I've had a lot on my plate. I even took a day off, believe it or not. Although my day off consisted of playing Dauntless all day and getting up to my 390 Pangar weapons. That's the right one. Doing a little better this week. Job's cooling down, so no falling asleep in dungeons. Thank you as always for giving me insight into my question last week. No problemo. To answer your question from last week, yes, at the time I was rocking a 310 weapon on my Dark Knight. Yeah, that plays a big role in what you were asking me last week about the deeps. 320 accessories. Later that week, I pimped out all tanks. 330 Algon chest. Got my Susano weapon. Not found someone to give me numbers. Well, that's unfortunate. Unfortunately, where do I start with melding? For tanks, it's very simple. If you're not using crafted right side accessories, very simple. Accessories will be 1 strength 6 materia. Left side gear will all be direct hit. There is also the argument for tenacity if you're doing raid progression, especially at lower item levels. Tenacity should also get stronger as we get closer to higher item levels in patch 4.2 and 4.4. So keep that in mind for the future. But currently, all direct hit on the left side, all strength 6s on the right side. If you have crafted accessories for tanks, which by the way are the best in slot accessories for tank according to the numbers, strength 6 in the first guaranteed slot, then for the forbidden melds for 2 through 5, and this is the only way the crafted accessories become best in slot, by the way, 1 direct hit 6 and then 3 direct hit 5. So on the crafted accessories, 1 strength 6, 1 direct hit 6, 3 direct hit 5s on all of them, and you'll be good to go. You also had a second question that I almost missed because I was so focused on that one. 2K was good, not great, but good, which lifted my depression, especially at 310. At 310, I mean, doing 2K is you know, without 2K, without melds, without food, without anything. I mean, that's okay. That's more than most tanks are willing to put forth as an effort. So I'd say that's a good place to start. 310 weapon, no melee, which I'm playing at a good skill level. So I couldn't tell you that because I haven't seen you play, and I'm not a Dark Knight. But I can tell you that I see a lot of tanks put out way less. So that's the best answer that that's the best answer I can give you as someone who is not at my core a tank player. So also, I'm glad you enjoyed my flare in Dauntless. Will there be in-game ways to get your flare? I have no idea. I have as many flares as I have. I don't know what the plan is to get more flares. So update video later. All right, number 5. Hey, Happy. I asked last week about the mobile app, and you sort of moved on without getting to my question at the end. Well, didn't I just say we had to wait? We had to wait and see? Because I didn't know. Because, yeah, no, I'm pretty sure I said that we had to hope that maybe we got information about it, you know, in the next live letter. I don't have an answer other than that. I'm pretty sure that that's what we were going to be getting to. And see, he also said they intend to have the chat remain free. Retainer may require a subscription. Oh, I don't remember this, so I don't really have much of an answer. I mean, if that's what it says, that's what it says. Wouldn't mind paying a couple bucks a month to get access, but what do you think about them making separate parts of the game have separate subscription fees? I mean, if it's a mobile app and they're trying to make money on it, I'm not really surprised. I mean, I'd be paid $2 extra a month for each retainer, so it's whatever. I'm not really surprised about it at all. They want to make money on it, and that's the easiest way to make money is to charge it for each different part of it. I don't remember that, but I haven't really been paying attention to the mobile app news. I just remember it being mentioned. I just want to wait for more information ultimately. Number 6. Hey, Haps. Hello. Been subbing to you for a while. Figured it's time to ask a question. First time bonus of a night of sushi all in the house for you and your lady. TLDR at the end. Okay, well that's useful. Although, to be fair, you only have this one little paragraph here. Let's see what the TLDR says. All right. What is a parse? A parse is basically the game, you pull text files from the game files, or you pull text from the game files, and using those texts, the game adds up a bunch of numbers and gives you what your total damage is over the course of a fight, or all the text it read over the course of you being in an active encounter, and then it gives you your DPS based on that. Now, some things don't appear in the chat, so ACT kind of messes around with it. The specifically dots, I believe, don't accurately appear in the chat, so it has its own way of calculating those. I'm not exactly sure how it works, but that's the general gist of it. That's why it's called a parse and not like something else. Does the number change depending on the fight? Well, it depends on how well you play, so yes. What should a paladin be aiming for against a dummy? I couldn't tell you that, dude. I'm not a paladin player. I can tell you this. On 04 Savage, when I cleared it initially, when people weren't like getting a bunch of crazy gear, our paladin pulled about 3,000 DPS on 04 Savage. Now, he's not a dummy. Being in a party means you get access to all the party buffs that your party is bringing, so you'll probably pull a higher number there, even with the downtime, than you would solo. That's theoretical, of course, but as a tank, it's more likely since you don't really bring a lot of big, you know, party buffs that are damage related as a tank, other than maybe the slashing debuff on Warrior. So don't necessarily take that as a number you should be aiming for, but just try to get as high as possible. If you can kill the dummy for Stone Sky Sea, that's your main priority, if anything. And those are all the questions. So, yeah, and you use, oh, I see, you're using the Stone Sky Sea calculator. Yeah, Stone Sky Sea calculator is good. But as long as you're beating the dummy, that's the most important thing. Number 7, hey Haps, not a first time asker, but I have a bonus of a real life chocobo. I can grill it? Oh, I gotta try this. I gotta know how it tastes. KFC, Kentucky Fried Chocobo. Which primal fight in Stormblood do you think is the most in terms of mechanics? Royal Menagerie, Lakshmi, and Susano. I don't know, they all have mechanics. Like, Lakshmi technically has the most unique mechanics. I'd say that maybe the Severed Arena in Susano might be the exception to that. Royal Menagerie doesn't really have anything unique other than the QTE. Like, it's nothing about that fight yells at me like, oh wow, this is incredibly unique and exclusive to this encounter. There's only one marker in normal mode Royal Menagerie that you don't see in any other fight, and it's just a marker that lets you aim his tail to a specific spot. And I don't even know, I don't even know, maybe you could run to the opposite side of the arena and he won't do anything with it because it's too far away. But, like, it looks like a marker that does nothing, but wherever you're standing with that marker, his tail is going to try to swipe in that general direction. So that's the most unique thing. They each only really have, like, one thing that stands out to me as super unique. But if I had to say, do I like the most? I don't know. That's tough, man. It's up again. It's specifically in Stormblade. I had the most fun doing Susano. There's enough stuff I recognize there. You know, the swapping of the jails. I'd say Susano. It's not a hard fight, but I'd like it. If you had to eat a meal in 14 in real life, what would it be doing? I don't even remember the name of half the meals. Whatever food I'm eating during that exact, like, raid tier, that's the food I want to try in real life. I don't even remember at this point. Alright, reply number 8. Hey, Mr. Happy. Not a first-time bonus, so sorry, no bonus. Okay. You mean not a first-time question? So no bonus. Alright. My question for you is this. Could they put in Final Fantasy 14 add-ons with their own add-on download page? People don't have to go to download their... They could, probably. They don't want to. Unless it's going to be available on the PS4 and on the PC, and it's made by them. No. And even then, they seem very hesitant to ever give us... put a DPS meter in our hands. And that's honestly the big thing that's third party. As for, like, deadly boss mods and stuff like that stuff's super unnecessary in our game. If anything, they said the only mods they would realistically want to do are UI modification mods. Our UI is very flexible, but to change the style of it, that seems to be the only thing they're even remotely interested in when it comes to doing add-ons. They don't want people having a parser. And I don't want people having official apps that call out mechanics when... I've done every raid tier without a third-party app calling out mechanics. I just think it's super unnecessary. Fights are scripted, mechanics have very set ways that they work, and so I just find it super unnecessary. Personally, that's how I feel, but I don't think they'll ever do it. Nope. And what's the hate around fishing collectibles? Just hate fishing? Alright, number 9. Hey, Mr. Hap, how you doing? I'm doing alright. How you doing? I've been watching for about a year and I love your content, but I'm the first time askers of a bonus of a hunting hawk. Dude, I forgot about the hunting hawk, man. Feels diadem, man. Will insta-kill anyone who asked about Blitzball. Now I like the hunting hawk even more. What's your favorite boss and what is the hardest boss you've ever faced in MMO? I don't know, man. That's a tough one. I mean, a lot of people know I played 11, so they expect AV and Pandemonium Warden to be like the two top answers. The thing is, difficulty is it's different for everybody. For me, AV, we could get him to a pretty low amount of health, and then he just one-shots everyone with Meteor, you know? So it was like, alright, this isn't even hard, this is just tuned to be fucking stupid. And Pandemonium Warden, we were able to beat, so it wasn't really that much effort, it was just, I don't know, Pandemonium Warden wasn't that hard. It was more about beating it in 2 hours because there's so much health to go through than it was actually about it being a hard fight. So I don't really like to use Final Fantasy 11 fights in like ever judging something that's difficult, because to me they weren't. They were stupid easy. They just required a lot of numbers. But as for other stuff, like, I mean, I did heroic raiding in World of Warcraft, you know, way before, like when heroic was the hardcore raiding. I did Final Fantasy 11, and then I didn't really raid in a lot of other games. You know, I dabbled in a lot of like Korean MMOs, but then 14's the other one. I would kind of just want to answer this in like each respect of each game. Of the bosses I actually did. I mean, I never beat it, but goddamn, dude, I remember. So Burning Crusade, let me just preface this. World of Warcraft, I didn't hardcore raid in Burning Crusade. I only hardcore raided towards the end of Wrath of the Lich King. And then my hardest hardcore raid I did was at the beginning of Cataclysm. So obviously I don't have things like Vanilla WoW or, you know, the Cthulhu bug or any of that stuff, or Twins to talk about back in AQ40. I don't have OG Naxxramas, you know, I don't have any of those experiences. But in World of Warcraft, the boss fight I definitely hated the most ended up being the Elemental Council in the first tier of Cataclysm. I'm not going to go into describing it too much, but that fight was a goddamn nightmare. Although the Omnitron defense system heroic was kind of tough, I'd definitely take them over the other one. What was another? So then in Final Fantasy 14, it's probably going to be A4 Savage. The thing is, it was just such a boring fight. I'd much rather give it to A3 Savage. But A4 Savage was just, it was tedious. It was tedious and boring. So for me, keeping my attention span on the boss makes it harder. As for 11, it doesn't really matter. It's AV or Pandemonium. It's AV. Like, I'll just say AV. He wasn't really hard. He's just, his numbers were so high that he fucked you in the ass, pretty much. Alright, number 10. Hello, Michael, Mr. Happy Poveromo. Hey, you said the whole thing. Quick question. Why does it always say introduction to the top right? So, I actually meant to get rid of that last week. So originally, with State of the Realm, when we did sort of a change, we had different... We had different slides. Like, we had an introduction slide, and then we had slides for each topic. Now, theoretically, we could still do that, but the main reason we did that was so that on YouTube, with annotations, we could do timestamps on the video and just do that. Now, theoretically, we can still do timestamps in the description, because annotations, you're not allowed to make annotations on YouTube videos. If you're in an old video that has annotations, they'll still work, but annotations themselves don't work on YouTube videos, so they don't allow you to put them on new YouTube videos. So that was the original reason. It was supposed to go like introduction, hot topic for the week, you know, or no, current topic, and then hot topic for the week, and then outro, whatever we were doing that week. I've been meaning to just get rid of the word introduction, because since that's not really a thing anymore, it's whatever. It's just like, it doesn't need to be there, pretty much. All right, number 11. Happy howdy, Mr. Happy. What's up? I feel like, did you say the same thing last week? I feel like I remember that. Firstly, thanks for your thorough answer last week, which incidentally covered part 1 and made part 3 mute. Secondly, in Speakers of Heidelin 56, they mentioned that the Shanghai Fan Fest mentioned mech PvP. Yeah, they mentioned, they've been talking about the mech PvP for, I think we first officially found out about it from Very Mary's interview with Naoki Yoshida at the Media Tour, because he asked about it, and they said there would be mechs on both sides. Mentioned something about Brute Justice, I even remember. It's not an odd, I mean, it is probably an odd translation for just siege weaponry, but look at Mary's, go listen to Mary's interview with Naoki Yoshida on his channel from about May, it should be posted on May 31st on his channel, so go check that out. Questions for the Mr. Happy Roulette scaling. Actually, I kind of just want to take that immediately. I like the idea of the scaling question. Regarding the size of the player character with regard to structures and creatures in the fields versus instant content, what is the true lore size of places with respect to the player? We are way smaller than we look. All of the dungeons and instances are bigger on the inside than they appear on the outside. Alexander is a pretty prime example where the entirety of, let's use A1, the very first one, the entire A1 takes place in his fist. And you have to like run through stuff, and there's this huge corridor at the end of it, but it literally takes you all of about half a second to go from the front of his fist to the end of his fist on the outside. So we're very, very small by comparison to a lot of that stuff. All right, number 12. Howdy, Mr. Happy. First time asking, so I gift you any set of barding of chicken horse. You know, I've had the Ravana set for ages, and it's still my favorite barding of all time. Just a quick question. How do you feel about adding another race? I'm okay with it. Like, I'm not someone who cares, because I don't really care about visuals too much. I have issues with color matching, with my color blindness, and I have a lack of a sense of fashion, so it's not something that personally affects my gameplay, so it's not something I think about. I just don't think you should do it that often. But I think, obviously, you should work to add some sort of unique experience for people, or to try and meet as many different, I was going to say fantasies, but people might take that in a dirty way. It's, you want people to be able to properly express themselves in your MMORPG, and that sometimes means adding new races, that sometimes means adding new jobs. You know, you want people to capture exactly what they want their character to be. And the more of those you're able to encompass, the happier people who care about that kind of thing generally will be. So I don't think we should have gotten another one for Stormblood. Doing a race in 2 back-to-back expansions is a bad idea. Every other expansion would be sort of when I anticipate getting a new race, but 2 back-to-back, that just doesn't. It seems like a misset of priorities, because you can always put that resource into something else in your expansion, every other expansion, and not make it a priority in every single expansion. As for speculations as to a new race, the Lupin are the only things that come to mind, but with their heads and their faces, they don't really look great. I don't see it happening. All right, number 13. Hey, Mr. Happy. I tried Machinist for the first time last week, and I hate it. I hate everything about it. Here you mentioned you think they should just scrap it and start over. So if they listen to you and scrap Machinist, how do you think they should rebuild it? I'm not a job. I'm not going to design Machinist from the bottom up. I will say this. Their goal is to make it involve gadgets. I think there's a lot of that there. There are a lot of gadgets in their animations. Maybe perhaps make their gadgets a bigger part of their actual gameplay. I think that's the core idea that Machinist should look to hit. The gun is a gadget. Gauss Barrel's technically a gadget, but I feel like they could make the gadgets a Machinist actually brings with them a little more prevalent in their actual gameplay. However they want to do it, I still like the heat idea, I just don't think they executed it very well, ultimately. This next one's so short, it still shows what reply number it is at the top. So number 14, hey Mr. Happy, long-time lurker, first time asking to get a bonus of a better Final Fantasy 15 universe. The mobile, the mobile version surprised me, but it doesn't look like a bad mobile game. If they just didn't say Final Fantasy 15, I would be like, oh look, this looks like a cool mobile action RPG style game. But as soon as they tie 15 to it, it's like, oh really, they're doing that? You know, it doesn't look bad, it just looks mobile, if that makes any sense. Anywho, I had a question about samurai stat weights. For life of me, I can't seem to find. I feel like I answered this last week. I feel like I answered this exact question last week. It was skill speed between 1000 and 1200. I think it was like 1093 or something like that. And then it's direct hit above all else. It's direct hit, determination, with the skill speed value being where it is. So those are going to be the 3 you're looking for. All right, number 15. Hello. Hi. I have 2 questions this week. Why do streamers use a green screen? 2. Wait a minute. Thank you. What? Why is 2 empty? I guess you really only had 1 question. A lot of us use green screens because it's much more professional looking. Obviously, me being in front of a fucking rock is the less professional looking thing. But when you're playing a game, having just this box taking up space on the screen that's like unedited, it doesn't look as professional as perhaps just, you know, not taking up that space. Additionally, sometimes the room is used for more than one thing. For example, there could be personal belongings, or there could be or sensitive information that's in the room, but it's still the room where you want to work. You could be in a living room. For some people, work from their living rooms, and then somebody's like, you know, trying to chill on the couch or watch TV or do something else in the apartment or the house, and that's it. A lot of us now have dedicated rooms for that, but there's a multitude of reasons why you could use a green screen. One of the ones is to make it look more studio-esque in that in the case of bringing out more professional. All right, number 16. Hello, Senor Happy. Hello, Senor. I never say the name unless they put it in the post. Anyway, long-time creeper, first-time peeper. Do the creep. Ah, sorry, it's the only thing I think of. No bonus for you, just 100 million gil for me. I have 100 million, so if you need that, go for it. A question and a request. All right, this will be interesting. Are you surprised they offered Xenos or off Xenos so quickly in Stormblood? I express dislike of that, but I'm not too surprised. He couldn't have been I mean, as much as I would have liked him to be a longer focal point, he's not. And I get why, and it makes sense, and it's going to be very political moving forward. So I'm curious to see how they build things going forward through Stormblood's expansion. And request, I watch your streams, get distracted by your chest hair. Oh, yeah. I mean, that right there. Oh, that little section right there. That's what you're looking for. Oh, man. Nah, this is part of me. This is part of me. I like it. Thank you for appreciating it. You get distracted by it. I know why. I know why. On that creepy note, number 17. Hey, Hab, it's been a couple of weeks. Did you enjoy the Rising event? I thought it was amazing. It was, I don't know, honestly, compared to a lot of other events, it seemed kind of cheap to me. But anyway, other than logging in for a few minutes to do seasonal events, I haven't been playing 14 months recently. Preferred to spend time catching up on Persona 5 and Zodiac Age. To be fair, those are really long games that you have to put a lot of time into. I've been doing the same thing right now. Thinking about coming back to 14 or 4.1 drops, wonder what item level I need to be to enjoy all the content apart from Super Savage. You probably want to be like... The thing is, the only piece of content that's going to require you to have higher item level than other stuff that's coming out there is either A, Super Savage, or Shinryu Extreme. And Shinryu Extreme is probably going to drop 335 weapons, which means the minimum item level is probably 320. So there, I mean, people are going to want like 330 minimums, as dumb as it sounds. So I'd say, I guess, based on the way the Party Finder generally asks people to play, I'd say I recommend 330, but that's, you know, 320 would be enough. I guess technically the question was what item level will the 4.1 story dungeons and 24-man raid? 24-man raid will drop 330 gear. And the 4.1 story dungeons, I'm trying to remember the trend. It's been a while since I actually cared. What are they, 300 now? So 315 should be the item level that those are. Yeah, 315 for that will come from the 4.1 story dungeons. All right, number 18. Hey, Mr. Happy. Final Sim here, and welcome to Mondays with Mr. Happy, the weekly Q&A show where we ask you questions and you answer them. First of all, I just want to say it's probably going to be my last question since I'm leaving 14. I'm so damn burned out. My question is, what online game do you recommend me playing next? Honestly, so you actually came into my chat and described your situation where you were so addicted to the game that you felt that if you didn't drop it completely, like delete the character, delete the account, that you were going to sacrifice other parts of your life to keep playing it. That is, by the way, the only situation in which I think it makes sense to delete a character is if you are ruining your own life to play a video game and you want to get off of that game and you want to just delete the... If you lose all of that, it's the only way you're going to be able to step away from a game in general. That being said, doing that and then asking about another online game, to me, is dumb. Because at that point, you're just taking the addiction you're trying to cut and giving yourself another addiction. And it doesn't make any sense at all. So I don't recommend you play another online game. I recommend you stick to what the plan was with the original game and just don't play online games, don't play MMORPGs anymore, period. Because you're going to find yourself in the same boat again and again and again. All right, number 19, yo. Yo. Are there any 61 plus Battlecry leaves? Nope. Zero. None. Nada. Nothing. We're done here. Oh, you ask why not? Because they're worthless. Battle leaves suck. They've sucked forever. They sucked since the beginning of the game. They sucked after level 50. They still suck. They would have sucked. So stop making things that suck. That's why. All right, number 20. Hi, Haps. Hope your week has been a good one. I answered that. Yeah, you know, it's just a repeat of what I said before. For the customary bonus, take an early copy of the next 14 soundtrack. Hey, I'll take it. This week, I don't want to play devil's advocate to try and get your opinion on something. In earlier State of the Realm, a conversation was brought up about exclusive Savage content, with the point being brought up that while extremely exclusive fights felt sort of bad, additional phases were acceptable as they ended up... Oh, I think I know where this is going. You can probably assume what I'm going to ask. What's your opinion on the matter when it comes to Neo X Death, which may as well be an entirely new encounter, as opposed to just an additional phase? I raid and have been having a lot of fun progressing through the fight. I also feel that 04 normal felt gutted, incomplete, and overall under... I felt 04 normal came together pretty well, mostly because regular X Death in 04 Savage actually plays pretty well as a fight, and you feel like you stepped up from normal mode to Savage mode. So as for Neo X Death, I am someone who loves it personally. I loved Lady Sinestra when looking back to Cataclysm for, I was talking about heroic rating back then. I loved Algalon inside of Ulduar. I love those fights that if you're someone who wants to achieve the absolute, you know, highest status when it comes to rating, that there should be something, at least something special in terms of what a raid encounter brings to you at the end of the tunnel. And I feel like we've been able to do that with just additional phases. Winged Justice felt like something you really got to enjoy as a Savage raider. You know, A4 Savage was bullshit, so no, that one was garbage. And Alexander, he didn't even have an additional phase per se, but the way his fight was designed felt very satisfying to experience it going through Savage versus the way you went through it on normal. And then I look back to Coil, I think of, you know, the first fight, fighting on Bahamut's hand. That was the big thing that the Raiders got their hands on top of the story itself. Then you had Nail Van Darnus, who would, you know, nail Deus Darnus, but all the same. And then you had Bahamut. Like, these were things that, because there was only one raid tier back then, they felt like adequate, cool things to encounter at the end of your raid experience. I feel that things like Neo X Death and the additional phases, I feel like they're all good ideas. Even if it is an entirely new encounter, and I was very surprised to see Neo X Death wasn't a phase, but was an entire encounter. For me as a raider, it makes me much more satisfied with my progression experience versus just, you know, having a Savage version of the boss. I could name a bunch of other examples. I didn't feel 04 normal was gutted or incomplete. I don't know. I had a good time with it, and I don't want to encourage that they do it more, but if they're gonna do it and they do it like that, I will encourage it. So I'm torn here. All right, number 21. Hey, Hap, what's up? Long time viewer, first time bonuser. You're bonusing me? He's bonusing me, guys, for lack of a better word. So I have a bonus of a freshly brewed cup of coffee and your choice of a pairing. Actually, what is your choice to go with coffee? If I'm not eating breakfast, I don't really eat things with coffee. I just drink the coffee straight up, get that caffeine in my system, just get it flowing immediately. Caffeine. Alright, so your actual question. I've been playing 14 since 2.1 and have mained Goon the entire time. Reason being because, for some reason, Goon has always just felt strong to me. Maybe because the damage is pretty controlled. You know which moves are damage moves, and I was just finishing. What certain job? I was just wondering what certain job you feel is just powerful play. Dude, Monk feels so good. I just pelt out direct crits. Bam, bam, bam. Get a 9k auto attack, get a 9k fire tackle with my riddle, and then it's just fast, like bam, 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 and it feels really good to play. I love it. I love it. It feels powerful to me. The numbers don't need to be crazy high, but when they are, when you land that like 22k tornado kick, and or when you land like the 17k forbidden shocker, or it feels so good. All right. Anyway, a while back was what the biggest number you had seen as far as damage. I'd like to ask that again. I mean, it's going to be Samurai. It's going to be the video that Momo made, which honestly he can reach a higher number now, where you land the direct crit on the Asclepius with the 4 stacks, with all the buffs, with it like. Wait till he gets the full 340 and does that again, because that's going to be the largest number you see. All right, number 22. Hey, guy, stop calling me that. Anyway, thanks for the dungeon advice last week to give it, keep it short this week. Now I have all the realm of Born at Heavens where jobs to 60. I was looking to try Red Mage. Probably a bit exaggerated. I keep hearing Red Mage can res a whole party. I've seen them res 3 party. So here's the thing. Theoretically, you could. Practically, you will probably... You'd sooner give up, probably. Like, alright, fuck this. And give up before actually doing it. Unless you're confident you'll be the hero by the end of it. Mix of dual cast and swift cast. That would get 2 members, right? Anyway, you guys have an idea of how they're doing that? You basically Vercure, res, Vercure, res, Vercure, res, Vercure, res, swift cast, res, Vercure, res. Or even fucking... I don't know, even Jolt 2 res, and then Jolt 2 res, and or like take a proc res. It's just every dual cast is a res, like every 2 seconds. You're not gonna get them up in like half a second. You know, they're not saying that you'll just be like this. And I'm a healer LB3. You know, you'll have to wait with the GCDs, obviously, but basically every 5 seconds is a res. So res, 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 and then swift cast is bonus reses. So that's what you're looking for. Alright, number 23. Hi, Haps. I'm sorry, but I'm feeling not really well, so I have a lazy generated roulette, LGR. Okay, I just saw you bolded them, so I wasn't sure what the reason was. Okay. Crafty mount question, leftover question from last week, and a tiny detail on a certain lava. I'll take the leftover question from last week, because I don't know about... Actually, crafty mount question. So with the cushion and the other craftable minions, why not have a craftable mount? I'm okay with the idea. I mean... We have mounts that you're gotten in pretty much every way except crafting. Is there any crafted mount? I don't know. I don't think there is. I mean, I'm cool with it. I'm cool with it. I'm cool with it, sure. Yeah. And here's the final question for this week before we move over to the Twitch questions. Sup, bruh? So what's up with this DPS? Look at me. I did XXXX DPS according to FF log. Shouldn't it be like I did XXX what? PPS? The fuck's PPS? I don't know. I can get a weapon upgrade, play worse than last week in Savage, so only get 97% instead of 85% purely because of the gear. It's literally, yeah, that's normal. Isn't that what really matters, how well you actually played, no matter what gear you have? I mean, yeah, but the goal is to win. So as long as you win, if you're not fucking doing speed kills, it doesn't fucking matter. Winning is what matters. The better you play, the easier the win is. So play better, easier win. So yeah, ultimately answer your question. Yes. Why isn't... Oh, potency per second. Because nobody fucking cares about potency per second. That's not a cool, hip MMO lingo that people actually use or have used. DPS is a term that has existed for almost 2 decades. Actually, well, it's been about... I'd say the first time I heard DPS was about 15 years ago, so a decade and a half. It's a term that's been commonly used over the last decade and a half. You're not just going to replace it with PPS because it's something exclusive to 14. No, people are going to go with the term that they're familiar with and that they know and that, you know, people care about and can recognize. Because if I didn't know what PPS is, I guarantee you 90% of the people who they're showing off to are going to be like, what the fuck is PPS? They'll be like, oh, of course you wouldn't know. FF logs. Okay, yeah, sorry, that was them choking on dick. Anyway, that's going to be the last question for Mondays with Mr. Happy this week from the forums at least. And I have an itchy nose, so while I'm itching my nose, let's get some questions from the Twitch chat, shall we? Alright, honestly, I went to do Twitch questions, and I answered a bunch, but none of them really seemed worth adding to Mondays, so I basically just had a little bit of Q&A time with the Twitch chat that's not in the video itself. So I'm just going to wrap up the video after question number 24 on the forum. So thank you, those of you who asked this week. Again, thank you to the sponsors we named at the beginning of the show. If you want to be a sponsor, check out the Patreon below. It also gets you... We're still working on some other things regarding that. Right now, there's some physical benefits to being in some of the tiers down below every 3 months or so, but we're still working on more behind-the-scenes stuff. I do a weekly Patreon update for people who are wondering what I'm currently working on, what's going to be releasing that week, and just a topic that's fresh on my mind. So there are things that are on there. Be sure to check it out if you haven't already. I appreciate those of you who have supported there to make up for what YouTube's been doing for the past few weeks at this point. But anyway, I'm going to hang out with my Twitch chat for just a couple more minutes, find someone to host, then I'm going to go grab lunch, and I got some work to do. I got some renders that I'm behind on because I got screwed up somehow. So that's going to be the rest of my afternoon. I will see all you fine, ladies and gentlemen, in the next episode of Mondays with Mr. Happy. Ask your questions on the forums in the description of the video for those watching on YouTube. I will see all of you for that. Oh, so Mondays with Mr. Happy. This is important. I just remembered. I will be at PAX West this Thursday. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I come back on Monday. AKA, I will be recording Mondays with Mr. Happy on Monday next week, which means it may not hit YouTube the same day. So that was the one thing I felt like I was forgetting the whole video. Keep that in mind for next week, because that is going to be important. I technically do have front page time on Sunday, but I'm not going to do a Q&A on myself during Twitch front page time. Anyway, I will see all you fine, ladies and gentlemen, next week. Twitch chat, I'm going to hang out for a couple more minutes, and until then, take care.